Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. I am really excited to have Melissa Jenkins joining us today. Melissa and her sister Kathy started Little Shoes Academy, which, if you were in Pigeon Forge last year, you may have met them, went to their sessions, heard them speak. But Melissa is here to talk to us all about the science of reading today. So, Melissa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I am too. I'm eager to hear what you have to say because I'm sure I will learn stuff. I get so excited to learn new things still. I'm so thankful that I get to do this job because I get to talk to such interesting people and learn new stuff all the time.
Oh, I'm
And it's just a
sure.
blessing.
Yes, I bet. I love to do it too.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that comes out of being a homeschool mom. You really ignite that love of learning in yourself, even as you're doing it in your kids, and that never leaves. So yeah, I'm excited to learn all about the science of reading. Now, I know from the introduction that you have your master's in education. You have been an educator for a long time. Tell us a little bit about kind of your background, a little more than just the specifics, but how that led you to starting Little Shoes Academy and doing what you're doing today.
Oh, sure. Well, we were off and on my husband's military, so we got to bounce around the country. And depending on where we landed, we either ended up in a public school, private school, or I homeschooled
Mm.
my children. So that's kind of where the homeschooling piece came in. But before that, I was a teacher, a classroom teacher. And then I moved on to the university setting and taught teachers for years, which really was a joy. That's something that I love the impact that I was able to make. And so it's kind of a natural fit now that as my children have grown up and moved on out, that I'm looking at the next generation of moms and really wanting to just help them in the same
Mm.
way and give them just some good strategies that I've learned, hopefully shorten their learning curve and give them the confidence that they need.
And that's so important. Yeah, the moms today, I kind of feel bad for them. They're bombarded with information constantly, more than anybody could possibly know what to do with. And yet there is a lack of mentors, a lack of people who are really investing and walking alongside of them. That's why we have Teach Them Diligently
Yes.
365 for that exact reason. But to hear you describe why you're doing what you're doing, that just made my heart rejoice because we need seasoned veterans to come along and do this kind of thing for the younger
I
moms.
just
So,
too. Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
thank you so much for doing that. I'm eager to hear what you have to say about reading in particular. I know you talk about the science of reading. So, can you give us some insight into what you mean by that? What is the science of reading, and why is that so important to education today?
Oh, I am so passionate about this topic. And so I want to thank you, first of all, for the opportunity, because this is something I do not believe the homeschool world is really familiar with at this
Hmm.
point. I think they will be once they hear some of the data that comes behind it. It's amazing. And so
Wow.
I wanted to start by telling you a miracle. I don't know if you've heard of the Mississippi Miracle, but
No.
in 2013, fourth grade, public school, students were ranked 49th in the state, I mean, in the country as a
Yeah.
state. I grew up in Arkansas and we literally had shirts that said, "Thank God for Mississippi," because we would have been in their ranking. But through the years, legislature passed that all teachers doing reading had to go through the science of reading. It's a very intensive program, 2 years. And by 2022, they went from 49th to 21st
Oh
in
my
the
goodness.
country during a pandemic where
Wow.
every other state except for Louisiana and Oklahoma tanked.
Hmm.
Every other state tanked. They rose. I mean, just through. And they give their credit to the science of reading. And
Huh.
so it is an incredibly powerful tool that I'm wanting to just shout from the rooftops. On a second note, I'm going to give you the Melissa miracle. That's me. I learned about the science of reading fairly recently, and I was working in a class of special needs 11 boys. I was in the
Hmm.
classroom. My girls had grown up. I was back in the classroom. 11 boys, special needs. We were told as a school district that the goal was our children to increase their reading scores 23 points. They told my children to be quiet. That's all they
Wow.
cared, was for my
Hmm.
special needs children just to not bother the others. Our class average was 43 points.
Oh
We
my goodness.
almost doubled. And
Ah, that's
I
amazing.
had to sit back and really analyze it because even my jaw dropped and I was like, what am I doing different? It was the science of reading. So that is
Wow.
why I am so obsessed with it. So, what is the science of reading? It's basically a body of research that they've done for decades and decades. And it's not just educators, they had neuroscientists, they had behaviorists, and they all came together and they looked and built a set of tools and systems that they put into place, strategies to help with reading, because they learned one of the number one things that I think we already know is reading does not come naturally.
Hmm.
Only 5% of kids seem to pick it up as osmosis or a miracle. So 95% of kids need some sort of instruction. And what the science of reading does is it lays it out very systematically. It's very explicit and it's taught in such a way that scientifically your brain is prepared for the next step and the next step. And we as homeschoolers already almost have the first piece, which is phonics. Um,
Okay.
we consider phonics a foundation. That's something we've done really well in the homeschool world. I'm so happy for that.
Yeah.
But we have found that there are four other areas that need to be included that are just as important. And so
Hmm.
that's what I wanted to share today.
Well, yeah, that I'm very eager to hear you jump into that. I want to ask you a couple of follow-up questions
Sure.
though. Number one, as you were talking, I think it's important um, to really reinforce what you said about your particular classroom with special needs kids. This is hopeful for those families who have struggled to find anything that will really, really help their children.
Absolutely.
So I didn't want to let you skirt past that because as you said that, I was like, oh, praise the Lord. This is something that our special needs mamas need to hear, that this is a system, a strategy that will help no matter what learning differences your kiddos have.
Absolutely. And my heart is I am a special ed teacher, and my heart is for those children that have special needs. And
Mm,
nothing makes me angrier than to not have expectations, like
yeah.
just keep it
Yes.
quiet, that kind of thing. They can do amazing things. And you're right, we have to find the avenue that's going to work for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to make sure that I piqued everybody listen really, really closely
Yes.
because no matter where you are, this is something that will help you. The next thing that I wanted to follow up with you on though was you mentioned phonics as being something that we do a lot and we do pretty well. But what is the difference between um, phonemic awareness and phonics itself as we're teaching our children?
That is really important because a lot of people mesh it or
Yeah.
don't give it its own importance. I almost think phonemic awareness may be more important, as important as phonics. Let me say that. And it's a piece that we're missing. And I want to say this is geared towards basically preschool to second grade. So these are early learners.
Okay.
If you do it correctly by second grade, you will not need this kind of system any further. And typically, third grade curriculum in general goes from learning to read to reading to learn. That's where that shift
Okay.
happens. So, the whole goal is that we're going to be able to do that. Having said that, it's showing a lot of success with illiterate adults as
Mm.
well. But what we're going to start with sounds very elementary, but that's where we are. We're with the
Yeah,
little
yeah.
ones. Phonemic awareness is playing with sounds. We're really good at phonics. So, we've got here's an F and
Mm.
here's an F. The letter name is F. The letter sound is F. Okay, so that's what we've taught. Boy, we just put a whole lot in their little brains right at the very beginning. They
Mm.
have to know the capital squiggle, the little squiggle, the name of the letter, and the letter sound. And if you stop
Mm.
to think of it, like if you're teaching, we used to teach a lot the letter E as an elephant. So you're saying E says L. Now we're really playing with them because we're just twisting. And that's why if we do it really specifically and systematically, they are going to catch on to it and they take to it like wildfire. It's amazing.
Mm.
And so what we do, phonics is the letter sound and the letter. This is the letter.
Okay.
You show them the script. Now, phonemic awareness, we take that away. All we're doing is playing with the sound. So,
Hmm.
phonemic, the sound, being aware of the sound, awareness. So, you start by playing. You just play with sounds. And it can be as simple as reading little nursery rhymes, or stories that Five Little Monkeys Jumping on the Bed, those kind of stories that have a lot of rhyme, rhythm, and repetition are the three important things. And so you're going to be sure that you're playing with those. And when you're walking around, oh, look, there's a fish. Oh, the fish starts with f. There. What's another word that starts with f? Oh, maybe fox. That's right, fox. And so you're playing all the time with sounds. You're making them aware of each individual sound, but you're also making them aware of rhymes.
Hmm.
And so it's Jack and Jill went up the hill. Oh, you've got Jill, you've got hill. What else could it be? Or let's say we've got hill and house. Do those rhyme? No, those don't rhyme. And so you're having them play with the sounds. They're starting to get very familiar with them. Once they've become familiar with it, then you introduce the phonics. So you've been playing with all the time. Now, in a few lessons down the road, now you're going to introduce that this letter, oh, it matches that sound that we just had. It gives them something to hook their teeth too. It's so important for them to have that background knowledge, because they're not starting from nothing. They are starting from a very strong foundation. And so that's why I think phonemic awareness is a really important part. And so with the science of reading, there's a total of 5 pieces that we're looking at. And so it's phonemic awareness, and then it's phonics. And
Okay.
you teach them all together, but then
Sure.
you've also got fluency, reading comprehension, and vocabulary. Each one of them we consider a pillar. If you take one away, you're creating a gap. So you've got to
Okay.
make sure you're including all 5 pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it's so exciting to me to hear you talk about that, because as you were going through the phonemic awareness and the way that you do it, that's so natural. You know, that's something that as moms, as dads, we kind of do just because it
Exactly.
feels right. Like you're playing around with your kids, you kind of start throwing this stuff in, and we undervalue so greatly the impact educationally of just following your instincts and teaching your children so naturally. It pays off so big in the long run. So, I hope that that is encouraging to all those young moms who are listening in, who are like, oh, I didn't think I
I
was
do
doing
that
anything
anyway.
except hanging out with my kid. No, you're
Exactly.
doing so much. And that's a really, really important and exciting part of all of this.
Yes.
So yeah. So how then does the science of reading differ from some of the other modes or methods of reading that we've seen through the years?
Well, one of my least favorite things, they call it balanced literacy. And that is what the teaching has been for decades in the
Hmm.
public school system. It's starting to come out. I don't know. Have you seen now that some high schoolers are starting to sue their school districts because they have graduated and they can't read?
Oh my goodness,
And
no, I
school
haven't seen
districts
that.
are starting to, I don't know how it's going to turn out, but this
Hmm.
lawsuits are coming. And the reason the lawsuits are coming is this research has been out for decades, and it's been
Wow.
buried. It's been buried because other curriculums already had another methodology uh, established,
Yeah.
and it was called balanced literacy. Balanced literacy has its place. You are more looking at stories, and from the stories, you are gleaning information that I think is impractical. For example, some of the clues that they tell you to use to teach a child to read is look at the picture. What does the picture tell you? The
Yeah.
picture's not always there.
Yeah.
That's a big concern. Another teaching methodology that they use is they will literally cover a word and they'll say, how long do you think that word is? Do you think that word is going to be pop or popcorn? And so they're making educated guesses, and they're teaching you literally to just guess at what you think
Huh.
the word is. The third and least common strategy they use is phonics, where they might take the first letter off and go, oh, look, it started with a P. What words do you think that can, and they're literally just making educated guesses based on what they're seeing on the page.
Wow.
And that's not very effective. And it's been shown not to be effective. So I do think it has its place in learning inferencing, there's different reading comprehension, there's different reasons that you would want to point out things in the picture. But as far as just a straight up reading strategy, it has found itself to be very lacking.
Wow. Yeah, I hadn't heard of that explained that way.
Yes.
So that was really, really interesting. For parents who are teaching their children to read or concerned about where their children are reading, like how well they are reading, how long it's taking them, what can parents do now to really help support their children's reading education?
Well, there's a long list. I could talk all day, but I'll try and keep it brief. One of the things you want to be really careful of, again, the science of reading is systematic. So you
Hmm.
want to be sure when you're teaching it, you are teaching the sounds in the correct order. It's no longer A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We don't teach it that way any longer. What's typically with the science of reading, they'll pick 6 very common letters to start with. SAT, PIN, I think are the ones that we use. And then they start playing with those immediately.
Hmm.
So they take those, and then from those you can make so many words. And at the very beginning, nonsense words count. It's just them
Yeah.
practicing reading those words over
Putting
and
those
over.
letters together. Got it.
Exactly. And switch, it's really important part too, is switching them in and out. It's called flexing. So, pot becomes hot, hot
Hmm.
becomes hat. You just switch one letter in and out. And so you take those and you just play with them, and they learn very quickly to, oh, now I'm changing the ending sound. Now I'm changing the middle sound. And so it's really important to do your research and make sure you're looking, that because you want it to be taught in a very systematic way. It
Okay.
starts by teaching sounds, obviously the letter sounds. Then you're going to put them together. Typically, we start with 2 sounds, so like AT, at, then 3 letters, CAT, then blends, then digraphs, then special rules. And so there's a very specific, even when you're teaching the word that, like cat, you are to teach it the initial letter first. And then normally you would think it'd be the next sound. We teach the initial sounds first, then we teach the final sounds.
Hmm.
Then we go back and do the middle sound. And there's a specific rhyme, rhythm, and reason that they do it. So it's so explicit and very carefully done, but the success can't be ignored. So
Wow.
I really encourage parents to do their research and learning the specific order to teach it. And then secondly, what you could do even today is play those sound games. Like I play popcorn with my kids, and I'll be, I'm going to say fire, hot. And if it doesn't rhyme, they don't pop up like popcorn. But if I say fire, tire, then they pop up like popcorn. And so there's so many games that you can think of that are literally just playing with the sounds, whether they
Hmm.
be you're isolating a sound or it's a rhyme. That's something you could start today.
Wow. Wow. So, how can parents who may be overwhelmed, maybe um, and maybe scared that they're just not going to be successful in this, how can they start to learn about this methodology? You've focused on the fact that it is very intentional. It's systematic. It's very explicit in the way that you go through it. So, how can families, parents, homeschooling parents, actually get access to information about how to start incorporating these principles?
That's really a good question. First of all, I want to say to any homeschool mother, especially a homeschool parent that is listening to this today because they've sought it out, you are miles ahead of the game.
Hmm.
You have the heart, you have the intention. I am confident that you are going to do amazing things because you're already seeking it out. And not just
Yeah.
the science of reading, you're seeking out as a teacher's heart, how can I teach my child? I will say that the program, it's not technically a program. They're very careful not to call it a program, but this whole body of research is, it involves 2 years of graduate level training. So I
Okay.
don't believe most homeschoolers are going to want to go
Probably
through that.
not.
So I do suggest, if you want to do it and do it well, you seek somebody that's already done it.
Okay.
And you certainly can go and look on YouTube videos. I do get a little nervous when I let people loose on the internet because I call it the Wild West, and not always in a good way,
Right.
because
Absolutely.
there's some scary things. So I would definitely check the ratings. I would definitely look for somebody that has had experience in it. I would definitely come to one of your conventions
Yeah.
and maybe sit in on, if somebody's doing some a session on it. I think it would be fantastic as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, is that what you speak on at our events? Do you
At
talk
your
about these
event this
principles?
time, I believe we did it last year, but this year I
Yep.
believe we're ours is called Teach Your Child Anything, which is also
Okay.
important,
Yep.
and it's just teaching strategies on how to break down any lesson and teach it effectively. So it's gonna be good. We do talk about some science of reading at the end of it because I find it so powerful. I want everyone to be aware of it. I'll
Yeah.
also mention we do have a Facebook group that you can join. And on Tuesday nights, I do a free online, I just sit there for an hour, and any
Hmm.
parent can come up whether you've used our curriculum or not. That's not what's important. If you have a question, you can come join our just pop in, ask your question, and leave, or stay the full time. But I am there literally to hold your hand and help you with it. And if you wanted to show me a curriculum and say, what do you think about this, I would be more than happy to go through it with you, and we could see
Wow.
if it's a good fit.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And if you are a 365 member and want to listen to the workshop that she gave last year at Teach Them Diligently, I will put that link in the show notes so that you can have access to that. If you're not
Perfect.
a 365 member, you need to join
That's true.
for a myriad of reasons, most immediately so that you can have access to that workshop because it will be really, really helpful for you. Um, I wanted to jump over just real quick to you all. You and your sister have started a curriculum, or have written some curriculum, some resources for young people called Little Shoes Academy. Talk to me a little bit about Little Shoes Academy, and what can families find there that will really help them in their homeschooling journey.
Yay. Thank you. My children have grown. And so my heart is really to help this next generation that have come up.
Mm.
My sister is starting to have grandchildren. I'm not quite there yet. And their kids are planning on homeschooling them. And so they have asked us to help with resources. And that is how Little Shoes Academy was born. And so when you go to Little Shoes Academy, you're going to find resources that are geared towards preschool, kindergarten. This year we are completing first grade. Our goal
Mm.
is to go through second grade at some point, but we're tired, and I'm not quite sure that that one's going to get out just right away. But it's for the early learners, and so we have so many ideas that are that we share, activities that we think are successful and have found beneficial for our little guys. We also obviously have our curriculum and different resources that go with that as well. One thing I'd really like to point out is on our homepage, we have a Bible curriculum that is
Mm.
completely free. And I really want to make sure everyone knows how important this is. It is geared for 3 to 6 year olds. It's over 250 pages, and
Wow.
it's 36 weeks of Bible study lessons that go through the Old Testament, New Testament, salvation, and then what you get from that, which is the fruits of the Spirit, is our 4 weeks. And by the time they're finished with it, they literally have their own little Bible that has like a scripture on one side. We call it a flat craft, so it'll fit, but that kind of reminds them on the other. And we have games. It's a completely free download that we want
Wow.
to share with anybody, because then you'll see our heart. And that's something obviously we want to share with everybody.
Yes, yes. Well, as our listeners know, I am a new grandma, so I have already added that to my cart so that I
Yay.
make sure I have access to your Bible curriculum with my grandkids, and will tell my children about it too, to so that they can use it in their homes with my grandkids too. Just make sure that
Perfect.
that my grandkids are surrounded by it because it is such a great resource. It looks so fun and just a great way to reinforce these lessons that we're trying to teach them, help them understand the accounts that are found in the Bible and how they're impactful for their life today. And that starts while they're really little. And so I appreciate you guys putting that together. And all of your other stuff looks so adorable. For those of you listening in, if you have littles, pre K, early learners, make sure you check out Little Shoes Academy because their stuff is just really, really good. And the quality of education from these ladies will be really, really good to come into your family. So, Melissa, I appreciate so much you're taking the time to hang out and talk about reading today. Can you tell everybody before we go where they can connect with you? Maybe even tell them how they can get to be a part of that Facebook group that you mentioned before.
Sure. Well, our website is littleshoesacademy.com. You can email me at Melissa at littleshoesacademy.com if you ever have any sort of question. And then, honestly, if you just go into Facebook and type in Little Shoes Academy, we're our own group, it pops up immediately.
Oh, good.
And so you'll be able to find us there as well. And there's a small but loving little tribe of mamas already ready to welcome you with open arms.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Melissa, again, I so appreciate your taking the time to share just fascinating information with us. Very hopeful.
Yes.
So I appreciate your taking the time.
Well, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I've had a great time. Thank you.
You are very welcome. To the rest of you, thank you all so much for choosing to spend this time with us as well. I imagine, like me, you have learned a lot. You're excited to get back to what God has called you to do and to feel like you're doing it with more confidence. Even those games that you're playing, you can do that with the confidence that you are really, truly helping your child learn the things that he or she needs to be able to build a great foundation for reading and learning for the rest of their life. So be sure that you go to littleshoesacademy.com so that you can check out their resources. Definitely pick up that Bible curriculum for your little ones. And then I encourage you to check out their Facebook group. Having access to an educator like Melissa on call like that is just insane. And it is an amazing opportunity. So I hope that you guys will definitely take advantage of that. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And I look forward to talking to you again real soon.